to the desert of the real.
The world seen by Neo and that shown by Morpheus are totally different. The images that Neo imagines to be real are actually pictures of a world he wishes to see. Neo has hitherto thought that he was in a real world and had never harbored any doubts as to that reality. In other words, he was quite unaware that the world was an illusory one. Billions of people living in the world today are in exactly the same position. Neo is now preparing for combat training. He finds the simulated environment he enters highly realistic and is therefore very excited. Yet he is still lying down motionless while all this happens.
How about combat training? Jiu-jitsu. I'm going to learn jiu-jitsu. I know kung fu.
Show me. This is a sparring program, similar to the programmed reality of the Matrix. It has the same basic rules like gravity. What you must learn is that these rules are no different than the rules of a computer system. Some of them can be bent. Others can be broken.
People today can feel themselves to be somewhere very different to where they actually are. For example, stereo images are reflected off all the walls and floor of this room. People wandering around this room with stereo glasses imagine themselves to be somewhere very different. They can even react to the things they see and hear as if these were real. The truth is that there is no need for an outside world in order for us to imagine ourselves to be somewhere very different, because everything we imagine we experience actually takes place in our minds. We can therefore never make direct contact with the original of matter. In other words, everything we perceive and are sure exists throughout our lives is actually images and feelings forming in the brain. Another film to examine the relationship between the real and virtual worlds is Vanilla Sky. David Ames runs a large publishing business. The people in his environment admire his physical appearance, financial status, and social circle. Until his face is ruined in a traffic accident. David Ames then signs a contract with a company. Under the agreement, the company will enable him to have a lucid dream. Meanwhile, his body will be kept in a special location. David Ames thus goes on living in a virtual world. He touches the objects around him in the virtual world, eats, laughs, and enjoys himself as if these were all real. In one scene, the lead character, David, is speaking with a doctor who asks whether he can distinguish between illusion and reality. David is at first certain that he can. Yet as he strives to recall events in his memory, he eventually becomes uncertain and says that he cannot tell the difference. Interestingly, while he is saying all this, he is actually living in an illusory world being shown to him.
Who is the man in the restaurant? Who is it?
I can't.
Can you tell the difference between dreams and reality?
Of course, can you?
Think about it. Think with your head. You signed a contract, did you not?
I signed something.
Was the man in the restaurant there? Accept your body's resistance. Let your head answer.
Yes.
That's right. Who is Ellie?
David, living within artificially induced dreams, genuinely believes in the reality of his past experiences. The same is true for many people's present lives. No matter how adamant people are that the images, voices, or feelings they interact with are real, these are only copies existing in the mind. In other words, imaginary copies of things they can never actually reach. Our own situation is very like that of the character in the film. Everything in the world we live in is under the control of God, and every tiny detail has been created as part of a test. Someone who knows that throughout his life God creates all the events he sees, all the sounds he hears as images in his brain, will submit to God, the Creator of us all, the infinitely compassionate and merciful, rather than falling victim to fear, empty despair, and panic. In one verse, God reveals, "If God helps you, no one can vanquish you. If he forsakes you, who can help you after that? So the believers should put their trust in God." Another film on this subject is The 13th Floor. Los Angeles, 1999, the 13th floor of a business block. Hannon Fuller and his colleague Douglas Hall have created a very special computer program. Those who enter the program will find themselves in the Los Angeles of 1937. And all the information required about it will be transmitted to their brains. One day, Douglas Hall is connected to the simulator and finds himself in this fascinating world under a new identity. It is 1937, and in that virtual world, he is a bank cashier named John Ferguson. In reality, his body is lying connected to a simulator in 1999. Everything in this world Douglas Hall has joined is exceptionally realistic. Cars, people, clothing, everything in short, bear the hallmarks of 1937. Yet not one of these images is real. They are all images in Douglas Hall's brain, formed by electrical signals from the outside. Modern technology allows people to experience feelings produced by artificial signals as if they were real. By means of special gloves, people can feel that they are stroking a non-existent cat, shaking hands with a non-existent person, or touching a virtual object. A most important conclusion may be drawn from this. The existence of an outside world is not necessary for us to feel that what we experience is real. Aston is one of the characters living in 1937. One day he reads a letter that he should not be reading, written by the creator of the program, Hannon Fuller. And he learns the great truth. He has spent his life in a virtual world. Aston is furious. He immediately goes to Douglas Hall and demands to be told the truth.
When I first read it, I thought it was a gag. The world's a sham, fat chance. But I'm not stupid, Mr. Hall. And all that stuff about going to the ends of the earth.
What stuff about the ends of the earth?
I did exactly what the letter said. I chose a place that I'd never go to. I tried to drive to Tucson. I figured, what the hell? Never been to the countryside. And I took that car out on the highway. I was going over 50 through that desert. After a while, I was the only car on the road. It was just me and the heat and the dust. And I did exactly what that letter said. Don't follow any road signs and don't stop for anything. Not even barricades. But just when I should have been getting closer to the city, something wasn't right. There was no movement, no life. Everything was still and quiet. And then I got out of the car. And what I saw scared me to the depths of my miserable soul. It was true. It was all a sham. It ain't real.
Why would Fuller write to me about the limitations of the simulation? I know the limitations.
I'm asking the questions now. I want to know why. And now I want you to show me what is real. Is this real? Is that real blood?
The fact is, though, that neither the pain and fear felt by Douglas Hall nor the blood flowing from his leg prove that the world he lives in is real. That is because his feelings and even the blood running down his leg are merely perception. As the film progresses, we encounter a striking fact. The lives these people imagine to be real are actually part of the simulation. In other words, they are not living in 1999 at all, but in 2024. The characters are connected to a simulator within the simulator, and live lives that all have stunningly convincing similarities with reality in these successive virtual environments. This is like dreaming within a dream. Although there is no material reality in a dream, one may still experience the most realistic-seeming emotions and may even imagine that one has actually woken up. How can you prove that you are not dreaming at this very moment? What makes real life different from our dreams? How can we prove we are not dreaming at this very moment? In fact, we perceive what we call real life